everyone, and welcome back to the Spanish Sling, a podcast where we try to bridge the gap between the Spanish and Singaporean companies and encourage economic relations between them. Do you want to explore with us the fascinating world of computer science, data analytics, and artificial intelligence? Today, we welcome to the Spanish Sling Joaquim Bellmunt. Hello, and welcome to the Spanish Sling.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, Joaquim is a PhD in computer science and an analytics specialist solution architect at Amazon Web Services.
That's correct.
So, Joaquim, in this first part of the interview, we're going to explain the computer science sector in Singapore. And I'm sure our audience may be familiar with those terms. But for those who may be not so familiar, like myself, what exactly is artificial intelligence and to what extent is it present in our daily lives?
Well, artificial intelligence, it's a method that we have to train some machines to be able to collect some data, train some intelligence behind, and take action after that. Could be a classification, could be a segmentation of data, and at the end, what we have it's the ability to take automatic decisions upon some inputs.
And that's it.
And that's it. So then there is more complexities behind where we can have different type of artificial intelligence that trained with computer vision, image and video, text. We have natural language processing to be able to understand human behaviors and human text. So there is many sections here, but at the end you would like is to have a model trained by data that gets some input and takes a decision at the end.
But for me, what is so fascinating is that maybe due to movies and maybe series, when we think about artificial intelligence, we think about robots or kind of this weird thing. So is it really present? So we have talked about this before, and it's present in our computer, in the way we want to deliver a product. Is that right?
That's completely right. So picturing on movies, it's actually next step.
Yeah.
We don't have robots. Though Singapore deployed a couple of robots during the circuit breaker, in part just to work, checking if you wear the mask. In Changi Airport, there are some robots as well that take some decisions, but they are specifically for one task. So what we have right now is artificial intelligence everywhere. And we have our phones, we have our assistants, Siri, Google, that actually you ask a question and they would just go through the data they have and deliver the best answer. This is artificial intelligence. It's the most related to the robot you mentioned. But later than that, we have the commercial side where you don't actually interact directly with the artificial intelligence, but when you access Amazon.com and you are looking for a product, you will have a profile, and this profile will be mapped to different products based on historical purchases, because you are related to other customers, because we are related to segments of the industry, and all these decisions that the machine is taking, all this product might interest you, is based on artificial intelligence. So directly we have few things that we are interacting directly, but behind the scenes, everywhere, machine learning actually help us to take decisions for the companies.
And that's very interesting. And so before I have presented you as an analytics specialist at Amazon Web Services. So what exactly is the scope of Amazon Web Services, and is it different how you work in Europe than how you work in Asia?
So AWS is a cloud provider. So what we help is customers, that can be a person, can be a company, can be an organization, to adapt or to move to the cloud, right? To use cloud services. It can go from a machine that you can install anywhere, it can go to a database, all the way to services that are packaged on ML for computer visions to detect objects in an image. And this is something that we provide as a change of paradigm, where before you need to ship your computers to on-premises, build your data warehouses, or build your data centers. Now you can just, with 2 clicks, spin up a machine and start playing. So this is high level what AWS is here for that. And then difference between Asia and Europe. I would not say there is many difference between companies in Asia and Europe, because now it's very global, everything. So we have a headquarters in US, and then another office in Singapore, another office in Vietnam, and everything moves the same way. I would say it's more the maturity of the company. If a company has been here for several years and everything is very heavy on premises, data centers and so on, they might take more time to adapt to a new paradigm of using cloud. On the other side, we have startups that start directly on that, and there can be might be global. So it will be more on specificities of each company and the teams. So working with a team in US is very different from working from a team in Vietnam or in Malaysia. You need to adapt yourself as well to them.
And I think anyone that comes to Singapore can see that it's such a developed country. So how ahead of the curve is Singapore in terms of artificial intelligence and data analytics?
That's very interesting because Singapore is like a huge test bed, right? And the government is all on artificial intelligence movement towards data decisions. So when we came here, we were surprised when you move along the street and you go to MRT station, you see cameras around, sensors. People is very used to have this data collection and they are not surprised. So if Singapore delivers a new feature because they want to automatize fire detection or light, street lights, people is okay, let's do it. So it's not only the willingness to deploy new things, it's also the adoption of the people here. Example is the Trace Together app.
Yes.
So Trace Together was delivered in 2 days. People were starting using Trace Together as normal thing, scanning everywhere and wearing the Trace Together all the time. Just imagine that if you're in Spain and you deliver a Trace Together app.
Exactly. I think for the Spanish listeners, so the Trace Together app was an app that you had to, you have to use to scan your QR in order to register that you were entering into
restaurants, malls, MRT stations, so anywhere you go.
Exactly.
And the adoption was great. So Singapore is a really great place. They have a lot of research centers here. They invite people coming over, but it's also the people that are adopting whatever they are releasing on that. So they're on top of the curve because of that.
That's really interesting. I think it would be really different maybe in Spain, there's apps and how the camera
I think
are
that
accepted.
I'm pretty sure that the government or whoever was in the mayors or any city that would love to implement that, because actually you can track together, track back who was in touch with who, and in this case for COVID, but you can just take any option, but the adoption will be very different.
Yeah, and following with the architecture and intelligence, what are the sectors most relevant for artificial intelligence? Sorry.
So artificial intelligence, as mentioned before, it's very good right now. We are pretty good at detecting one task. So you have a model based on data, you have inputs related to this data, and you have an output. Could be classification of this type of person, might be buying this product or this product. This is decision. Now what is interesting right now is trying to combine different models at the same time. So if you have an image, you might have an image of an elephant and you detect an elephant, but then you might have also a caption. So how do you integrate this caption with this image to be able to add some context? And you can add sound as well. So the more things that we relate together, the better, and we are working on that. Second thing is natural language processing, which actually the ability to understand what is our conversation with a machine. So we have a machine in front and it's actually tracking our conversation. For them, is transforming voice to text to something else, right? To understand, oh, this people is talking like that. But what about irony and sarcasm? That's next step, right? It's not only processing, it's understanding how these people are interacting. Are they mad? Are they happy? Are they discussing? Are they arguing? So all these things might happen. And another interesting field right now is the more we integrate artificial intelligence in our life, we need to understand it better. So the process of machine learning was, at the beginning was decision making, hand. Then we have machine learning, which was small subsets of data, and then we have deep learning, right? Deep learning was big data, and then the machine takes over and decides how the feature engineering we're going to do on that, how the data will flow, and how the data will be structured. But it was a black box. So when you need to deploy that in a city and they need to decide how the lights are going to work, you want to understand how this model is taking decisions. And this is what we call explainability AI and ethical AI. So we need to put governance on how this model takes decisions and how ethic is this model is taking decisions that goes up. Maybe it's the most efficient ways to decide. It was an example late before when they feed data of companies, of a very big organization of companies, and they feed, can you make more efficient my revenue? and the machine learning from the data decided the best way to make more profit is to shut down this company among all the others. And I said, okay, that's very efficient, but maybe it's not ethical, right?
Yeah.
So they have to put some ethicals on top.
Yes, they have to balance that. And so do you think that will be the future trends, all this kind of new the sectors you are
I think
talk
that
about?
is the current trend right now. Future trends is very difficult to forecast because in 10 years ago there were not the models that we use right now. Maybe in 2-3 years there is a research lab or 2 research labs that do a collaboration and just release a new way to change all these paradigms. So I would say that now is what we do. But then on top of all of these, machine learning, people has to understand that it's not only training data. So there is millions, petabytes of data coming seconds. And we need to treat this data to make it possible to train that. So there is a full scope of activities that comes before and after machine learning, which is data preparation, data collection, data preparation, data cleaning, training the model, and then this model needs to be available for the audience. If you talk to Siri, it's not only one machine that collects all the Siri requests. It's actually hundreds of machines. You need to scale up, scale down. So there is an orchestration of analytics behind. So there is plenty of collaborations between teams.
Well, I guess the evolution of the sector is so fast-pacing that it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in 10 years.
It's very difficult, and everything changed. There is quantum compute. Is now. Who understands what is quantum compute? Not me. I haven't got time to go into that. I'm busy on other things, but maybe in 2 years there is new things coming. So you need to be able to decide which is the best technique for my use case. And at the end of the day is what is your use case? What is the data you have? What is the pipeline? And how you can help your customers with that. And this might be the trend at the end. If you use computer vision or natural language, this is actually techniques. But at the end, what actually makes a difference for the people is business case, is use case, how this is useful for people.
And finally, Joaquim, you are an engineer working in Singapore. Are there many Spanish or European engineers working in Singapore, and is it really difficult to enter the market?
I would not say engineer as itself is the most difficult. So you can have opportunities here. And I don't think this is related to hard skills, which is actually mathematics or physics. You know what you are telling. This is our formulas, and this is how you apply things, how you code. I think that our strength as Spanish is our soft skills, is how we complement teams in this area with others skills that they might not have or they might not be as good as we are. Talking to customers, adapting our languages to different situations. You're talking to a CFO, or you're talking to a CEO, or you're talking to the dev team. You are able to adapt. We are able to adapt our speaking to them, our discussions. We are able to merge our groups. We like to work in teams, so we are like the glue that actually puts everything together. And this is very common among my colleagues that I have here. And I don't know much of engineers in Singapore, I have to be honest. I know more people from other sectors. But I think there are opportunities. And my advice will be, if you want to be here, do a research, look for the companies that are based in your country maybe, and here as well. Try to transfer internally, which is the easiest way. And because coming here without a job and try to find something here is possible, but it's risky, right? Situations change a lot. COVID, we are very uncertain right now. COVID, how the work is, or the EPs, the employment paths are going to be delivered. So if you have the willingness to come here, just try to find the right people, contact them explicitly. Hey, I would like to take an opportunity in Singapore. How is it? So just take the shot.
Yes. So for any Spanish engineer that is listening to us, there are opportunities. So just follow Joaquim's trends and tips. Thank you so much. Thank you for all this information.
Thank you very much.